Brought to you by Raycon Earbuds. Stay tuned for more information. This is a follow-up to my video Operation Red Herring. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend watching it first for context. So since I uploaded this video, there have been several new developments related to the Matt Watson controversy, and I just wanted to briefly cover them here. The first finding actually came within a few days of me posting the video and was remarkably hiding in plain sight. It turns out that when Matt was streaming his list of targeted advertisers, the document contained this username and password just pasted right out in the open. Well, an anonymous fan noticed this and entered the login information to the email site, and it actually worked. Bruh. I kid you not, Matt Watson just conspicuously left his email information out in the open for anyone to see. Now, this is not Matt's personal email, rather an anonymous burner email he used for the specific purpose of sending the YouTube Wake Up report to news outlets.
I have emailed several news outlets, BuzzFeed and stuff like that. And then I made evidence that I collected in a separate video that I have sent off to BuzzFeed. I sent it to BBC. I sent it to local news in my area.
In the original video, it wasn't clear what he meant by this, but with this new information, we can see the mysterious report and also the exact news outlets he sent it to. So at around 4 p.m. on February 17, 2019, roughly 6 hours before posting his YouTube video, Matt emailed a report to various Canadian news outlets and BuzzFeed. What's interesting here is that the initial news coverage about the controversy seemed to have been published completely independently of Matt's anonymous report. Pretty much all the outlets Matt contacted directly appeared to have ignored the story. Most coverage of the controversy came from American publications, practically all of which only cited Matt's YouTube video and not the burner email. The content of the message is similar to what he posted in the description of the YouTube Wake Up video, but attached to the email was a link to a OneDrive folder with all of Matt's supposed evidence. Well, our anonymous correspondent attempted to recover the files, and lo and behold, they were still there completely intact. The drive consists of two partitions, one of which is a video commentary of Matt scrolling through the comment sections on children's videos. This is very similar to the video he posted on YouTube where he tries to prove the existence of the wormhole, with the only real difference being that he uses a voice-changing filter.
So you can see there, I've already found my way into this wormhole, and actually you can see right here, there was some advertising there that I didn't even actually register when I was making the video.
Hey dummy, I'm gonna call you Darth Matt from now on.
The other part of the drive is a folder consisting of all the brands Matt could find advertising on child videos. Now, funnily enough, Matt actually commentates one of these clips and forgets to put on the voice filter, which raises the question of why he even bothered in the first place.
What's Purine advertising on? Oh, dear.
But then again, this is the same guy who live streamed his email password for the whole world to see, so we aren't exactly dealing with the most competent individual. What's actually notable here is that the supposedly damning evidence that Matt used to initiate a large-scale ad boycott on YouTube is quite underwhelming. First of all, pretty much all of these examples were gathered from foreign language videos. While it's certainly not ideal that this content exists, it's at least understandable that YouTube, a US-based company, would have a harder time enforcing its policies in international markets. YouTube simply does not have the resources to patrol foreign language content as much as they do English-speaking content. A YouTuber in Russia can just get away with more stuff than a YouTuber in the US because YouTube has fewer employees available to monitor Russian language content. While it's unfortunate that this can create blind spots for abuse, it is certainly not evidence of an elaborate wormhole in which YouTube is facilitating child exploitation. But enough about that. Let's set our sights on the actual meat of this evidence, the brands. Matt's entire campaign was predicated on the idea that companies are running ads on videos with predators lurking in the comment sections. So based on that, do you notice anything wrong with this picture? I don't know. Could it possibly be that the wormhole isn't even here because the comments have already been disabled? How about this one? Comments disabled here too. In fact, on at least a third of these examples Matt posted, the brand in question ran ads on a video with disabled comments. This was a pretty significant detail to leave out of the overall expose because it kind of undermines his entire point about how YouTube was doing nothing about the problem. According to Matt's logic, a mass ad boycott was necessary to force YouTube to take action, and yet his own evidence proves that YouTube was already working on the issue, thus rendering the entire boycott completely pointless. And just as I suspected, Matt's compilation of brands also provides evidence that plenty of the child videos only had ads because of automated content ID claims from third-party music companies. It's no wonder why Matt didn't publicize any of this specific evidence, because it would have made his agenda look even more flimsy.
It's weird to say, but I want to make it look bad for YouTube. I want to make it look very bad for YouTube.
This means that YouTubers are going to suffer, unfortunately.
And before I move on from this, I just wanted to put the final nail in the coffin of this completely preposterous ad boycott theory. This is something that I wanted to discuss in my original video, but I had to cut it for time reasons. YouTube ads, along with basically any ad on the internet, are entirely dependent on the user and not the content.
A Coca-Cola ad in front of a PewDiePie video probably means that AdWords knows that the viewer drinks soda. It doesn't mean that Coca-Cola is sponsoring PewDiePie, or PewDiePie is a spokesperson for Coca-Cola.
The content of the content is completely irrelevant. This is how ads are placed online. The ads that are run with it cannot in any way be interpreted to be an endorsement of what that video says, which is an argument that you used to be able to make with TV, because there everything was planned.
This is the reason why when Matt goes to click on a Russian video, he doesn't get Russian ads. The brands he saw would have showed up on literally any monetized video he clicked on. The fact that these specific examples appeared on sketchy child videos is arbitrary. You could have 0 subscribers and upload a video of yourself eating dog poo off the sidewalk, slap a Drake song on there, and YouTube will run ads on the content because that's just how the revenue claim system works. If you don't like it, then blame the music companies, but don't blame YouTube and don't blame the companies running the ads. Trying to argue that brands in any way endorse the YouTube videos they appear on is equivalent to me saying that you endorse UPS because they just happen to deliver you whatever package you ordered this week. YouTube videos are simply the means of transporting ads to the consumer and nothing more. So in conclusion, shut up about ad boycotts. Anybody who tries to justify targeting brands on YouTube has no idea how YouTube ads work and should probably go back to watching television. So that's basically all you need to know about Matt self-leaking his emails, besides one more thing. One of the messages in his inbox was a confirmation email for a new Reddit account. And when you go to look up the account on Reddit, its only posts are comments on the YouTube Wake Up subreddit. So we now have undeniable proof of Matt posing as a regular user to manipulate public opinion in his favor. Now that we know this is true, one has to wonder just how contrived this so-called movement really is. How many of these accounts are just Matt in disguise? To what extent did Matt exploit alternate accounts to give his post traction in the first place? If at this point you still believe that YouTube Wake Up was an organic campaign committed solely in good faith, then you'd have to explain why Matt found it necessary to back himself up with fabricated shell accounts. It seems that the more information you uncover about Matt Watson, the more two-faced he becomes. So much so that it's practically impossible to tell which version of Matt is the real Matt. One of the prevailing mysteries from the original video was the lack of any substantial information regarding Matt's real-life identity. However, about a week after I posted the video, I received a new tip that brings us one step closer to figuring out who Matt really is. A viewer of mine said that they recognized the landmarks from the videos on Matt's second channel, and confirmed that he is, or at least was, operating out of Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Cross-referencing this with Google Street View imagery confirms that this is true. Attached to this post was a link to a YouTube video from October of 2017. And ladies and gentlemen, there he is.
Finally!
The uploader even links to his known Instagram confirming that this is the real Matt. So it appears that in 2017, Matt worked briefly as an assistant for a man by the name of Timothy West, a wedding photographer in Victoria. The extent of their relationship is unknown, as this is the only incidents I could find of Matt appearing on Mr. West's YouTube channel or website. However, at the very least, we have a concrete example of Matt Watson existing in the real world. I tried to reach out to Mr. West for more information and received no response. Unfortunately, the only person we know who has any connection with Matt appears to be yet another dead end. And that was the end of the story, for about a month. And then something happened which I honestly did not expect. Matt Watson returned to the internet. On April 20th, 2020, Matt posted online for the first time in 9 months. He published an update to both his Reddit account and YouTube community tab in which he addressed the YouTube Wake Up campaign in hindsight. Remarkably, for what seemed like the first time ever, Matt actually expressed regret for some of his actions. He even mentioned watching and agreeing with the Right Opinions video about the controversy. Matt tried to justify his recklessness by claiming he wasn't expecting the campaign to become as big as it did. This is a pretty lame excuse given the great lengths Matt went to exacerbate the controversy as much as he could.
So you can find all this information. Guys, please contact them.
It's kind of like dropping a brick off an overpass and feeling sorry for causing a 10-car pileup because you weren't expecting it to do that much damage. In the end, Matt claims that the whole purpose of the video was to spread awareness in media literacy.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is questionable considering how Matt spent most of his efforts pressuring advertisers to pull out of YouTube. If he really was out to create awareness for the issue, he would have at least mentioned something like the cyber tip line at least once in his 15+ hours of content. But on the contrary, Matt mostly dissuaded people from actually reporting violations by treating an ad boycott as the only viable solution.
He was saying, I've reported these videos and they're still here.
As I said, I reported to YouTube many times what I was finding.
The report button does a lot more than he was leading people to believe. That report goes into a priority queue where a human reviewer is going to look at it. The content gets sent to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So it could become crucial evidence in finding a missing child or prosecuting abuse. I spent the week that Matt was contacting advertisers trying to tell his audience, guys, that report button actually does something. Matt is spreading misinformation about the report button, and it is very important that you report videos.
I was trying to report this to YouTube for an entire week as I was making this video, and YouTube didn't do anything about it.
The rest of the statement pretty much regurgitates much of the same information from his original farewell address, so there's not much new to say there.
Oh, so some guy said, so let's get this real, dude. I don't even know who the hell that is. So are you kidding me? Harassing some woman is worse. Like, so first of all, dude, I can't even deal with this shit.
But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Did Matt watch my video? Well, it's almost certain that my video provoked him to come out of hiding. I see no other reason why Matt would just reappear one day completely unprompted, within a month of me uploading a high-profile video directly challenging him. Whether or not he actually watched the video is still up for interpretation. A Reddit user asked Matt a series of questions based on my video, and Matt surprisingly replied. Buckle up, everyone, because this is the closest we're gonna get to Matt actually responding to my video. The first question asks Matt what everyone is thinking, why he came back, and whether or not he watched my video. Matt once again praised the Right Opinions video for convincing him of his mistakes, yet he acted pretty dismissive of my video. He is certainly aware that the video exists because of the numerous people commenting on his YouTube post calling him an industry shill, but unfortunately this appears to have caused Matt to write off the video entirely as a conspiracy theory. It's rather ironic because everything I said in that video was far more substantiated than anything Matt said in his. So if you want to talk about conspiracies, maybe we should first talk about you spearheading an entire campaign claiming that YouTube and its creators are all complicit in a massive operation to exploit children. I mean, come on, there's not much separating YouTube Wake Up from Pizzagate, so Matt doesn't exactly have a leg to stand on for deriding others as conspiracy theorists. It's also ironic how Matt praises the Right Opinions video about him for pointing out where he went wrong, even though my video essentially does the exact same thing and discusses many of the same points. You know, it's almost like actually respecting your critics and listening to what they have to say can improve your overall understanding of the situation. I don't know, what do you think, The Right Opinion? Do you think Matt should give my video a chance?
From a personal perspective, yes. Now, Matt doesn't have any obligation to watch EmpLemon's video. He might be a busy man. He might have personally moved on, but a lot of the legacy that his actions precipitated are still felt today. And if he is interested in a fresh angle on the topic, then I'd recommend it. I think what has put Matt off is the fact that a lot of people immediately responded to his YouTube statement, writing him off as an industry plant, something mentioned in EmpLemon's upload. Now, although that idea is floated, an idea that I personally doubt, it is presented with reasonable acknowledgement that it is just a theory, and it is proposed with relative mind to other hypotheses surrounding Matt's actions and with corresponding evidence. What I'm saying is that I wouldn't dismiss EmpLemon's video on that basis. It's not a video that I fully agreed with, but if you want an upload that posits some good theory and asks some really interesting questions, then there's no better place to start.
I'll kick you in the nuts and you'll smile at me and like it and show me some respect.
The second question asks Matt about his legacy as one of the most hated people in the history of YouTube. Here, Matt basically backtracks on all of his regret from the original post and says that YouTube Wake Up was totally worth it, despite being fundamentally flawed in its approach, and how the same result could have easily been accomplished without forcing YouTubers to lose money. The third question asked Matt why he thinks his video received so much notoriety despite numerous YouTubers covering the same issue previously. Matt gives a non-answer that doesn't really tell us anything. He also tried to weirdly downplay the severity of YouTube Wake Up as just standard petty online drama.
Really?
I don't know if my memory's failing me here, but I can't quite recall Belle Delphine or Alinity ever costing me ad revenue. I don't ever remember Jeffree Star pressuring multi-billion-dollar brands to withdraw their funding from the entire site. It's clear from this that Matt wants to protect his ego by pretending that he didn't massively disrupt the quality of life for every creator on YouTube. Question 4 brings up Matt's lack of knowledge regarding YouTube's monetization system during the controversy. And funnily enough, Matt straight up admits to being ignorant of how ads even work on YouTube, despite his entire campaign being contingent on a supposed flaw in the ad system. But come on though, does anyone really know how YouTube's monetization system works? I don't know, Matt, maybe the tens of thousands of people who depend on YouTube for revenue. People who probably know a lot more about YouTube's ad system than you, and the same people you called greedy when they rightfully pointed out how your campaign made no sense. But it's good to know that the whole time you were instigating your sycophants to go pressure advertisers out of YouTube, you actually had no idea how anything worked.
I hate you, you know that? I really do.
Question 5 asks whether anyone in Matt's personal life recognized him from the video. He said no one did. Question 6 raises the issue of Matt's strange lack of interaction with the news media. Matt claims that he did respond to a few outlets when they tried to interview him. I don't know what these were, he doesn't provide any specific examples, and none of the articles I saw ever published any sort of interview with Matt, so I guess this point will forever remain disputed. And that's pretty much all Matt had to say about the matter. He has once again vanished and looks unlikely to ever return. This is probably the last video I'll make about the subject because I don't expect Matt to ever give a satisfying explanation to what really happened with YouTube Wake Up. Out of the 3 theories I presented in the original video, I currently believe that the angry leftist theory is the most plausible based on the evidence we have now. But at the end of the day, we still don't have a solid conclusion. But what if YouTube Wake Up speaks less about Matt Watson and more about us? In the time since I posted this video, we have seen enraged mobs starting to heavily influence events in the real world. We have seen YouTubers targeting other YouTubers' sponsorships. Maybe something like YouTube Wake Up was inevitable and Matt Watson was merely a glimpse into our future. A society where everyone tries to tackle the world's problems even though they have no idea what they're doing. So does that mean that, in a roundabout way, we are to blame for the adpocalypse? Well, no, this whole controversy is almost entirely Matt's fault. Honestly, Matt Watson is one of the most insufferable clowns I've ever had the displeasure of encountering on this entire website. And I truly believe the world would be better off if his router exploded and he never touched the internet again. So in conclusion, Matt Watson and brain-dead Redditors can all suck.
Wormhole.
Bad word.
Oh dear, was that last line not advertiser friendly? Oh, well, that's a shame. I'm sure no company could possibly want to sponsor me now. This video is sponsored by Raycon earbuds. In the age of cowardly companies and frivolous ad boycotts, it's Raycon to the rescue, helping YouTubers like me earn money at Matt Watson's expense. Do you suffer from a fat idiot ginger constantly yelling in your ear about some nonsensical wormhole? Well, thanks to the new everyday E25s, you can drown out those incoherent ramblings with Raycon's compact, noise-isolating design. If you're low on funds because a bunch of Redditors sabotaged your income for the month, have no fear because Raycon earbuds start at just half the price of other premium brands while still sounding just as good. And hey, if you won't listen to me because I'm just a greedy YouTuber who should go work for Uber, then maybe you'll listen to these real-life celebrities who also use Raycon. The everyday E25s are their best model yet, featuring more bass, seamless Bluetooth connection, and 6 hours of battery life. Maybe you could use those 6 hours to actually educate yourself about YouTube's monetization system. So check the description below and try Raycon today in your choice of color. Visit buyraycon.com/EmpLemon for 15% off your order.
Did somebody say
erectile dysfunction?
He looks like he's constipated.
69
PS triple.
Erectile dysfunction.
It's affecting my sass. Hey, mother. Boy, I really hope somebody got PS triple for that blunder.
69.
You got
erectile dysfunction.
Oh, sure.
It's weird to say, but I want to make it look bad for
myself. Yeah, my guy, that's a child. Yeah, that's a child, huh?